Oh. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Narayana. Hari Om and good evening from Niagara Falls. I begin with Shloka 2. In Shloka 2, what is shared is the vital nature of knowledge. The vital nature of knowledge. And the example given here is the worldly article being circumstance I want you to remember, or Acharya Shankara wants you to remember, is fire. Without fire, you cannot cook. Fire is that which is required for cooking. Without knowledge, one can never be happy. The sutra for Shloka 2 is, all we need is knowledge. In Shloka 3, Acharya Shankara says, karma or action is not against ignorance, will not cure us of ignorance. Action is not knowledge. And our reminder for Shloka 3 is darkness. The idea being is that only light can remove darkness. Pushing darkness is not going to make darkness go away. That light is knowledge. Our sutra for 3 is, vision keeps busyness away. As long as someone doesn't have vision, they keep saying but. They keep saying I'm busy. But with vision, they don't. In Shloka 4, Acharya Shankara says, the opposite of ignorance is knowledge. That ignorance is not fundamental. Ignorance can end when we start to feel knowledge. And not knowledge of chemistry or politics, knowledge about what we're ignorant about, which is our nature. The reminder in Shloka 4 is clouds. Clouds. And the sutra, I is the original light. I is the original light. You can't put darkness or clouds over that. And in Shloka 5, Acharya Shankara says, you have to keep on practicing knowledge, which really means you have to keep on internalizing knowledge. And knowledge is the means. The only ends is your nature, is happiness. Knowledge is not the ends. Knowledge too is a means. Actions prepare us for knowledge. Knowledge prepares us for joy. Joy is the ends. The reminder in Shloka 5 is pool. A pool, like a pool of water. A pool in your backyard. And the sutra for 5 is, practice makes paradise. Shloka 2, 3, 4, 5 is one section of Atma Bodha, which is essentially setting up what the vision of Atma Bodha is. Knowledge that is going to address ignorance. In Shloka 6, Acharya Shankara is highlighting that every state that we're in, when I'm in the waking state, I believe there's only the waking state. When I'm dreaming, I believe there's only the dream state. When I'm sleeping, I think there's only the sleep state. Each state that we're in, we believe that's the only reality. But how false that is. I know that I dreamt last night. I know I'm going to go to sleep tonight. The reminder in Shloka 6 is a dream. Dream. And the sutra is, words are relative. When someone compliments you, that is not absolute, that is relative. When someone criticizes you, that too is relative. Likes, dislikes, etc. Words are relative. Shloka 6. In Shloka 7, Acharya Shankara shares that if you don't inquire into this, you will never know who you are, you will never know the truth. Because you'll keep on playing this game of, this is real, this is real, this is real. How can this, and this be real? So without inquiry, there cannot be any change. The reminder is a shell. If you don't inquire into that shell, you will think it's a pearl when it's actually just water that's shining. And the sutra in 7 is, who made who? Who made who? If I don't inquire, I keep thinking I'm the absolute. Everyone should see that I'm the doer and deserver. But with inquiry, how do I deserve this? Who is this doer? In Shloka 8, Acharya Shankara says the same thought, but using different terms. If there's an effect, there has to be a cause. He's highlighting to all of us that articles, beings, circumstances are all an effect. I'm an effect at a body, mind, intellect level. There has to be a cause. Inquire into that cause. And the reminder is bubbles in Shloka 8. He says that all that is coming and going is like bubbles in water. If you don't know water, you think those bubbles are real. But if you know water, then you know those bubbles are just water too. And our sutra is, all are related. Every one of us, if you scan all of our study groups from Boston to Chicago to Raleigh to London, we're all related. At a relative level, at an absolute level. In Shloka 9, Acharya Shankara shares the same idea. And here he says that these effects, here he calls them manifestations or projections, they're made by us. They're human-made. If you think of time, 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago, I don't think they had milliseconds. Maybe 1,000 years ago they didn't. And they didn't have nanoseconds and gigaseconds. These are human divisions, correct? I'm finding names and forms and applying them to time. And we just keep doing this more and more and more. When there's only, the word Vishnu is used here for existence awareness. The reminder is jewelry. Jewelry. The sutra is, valuables depend on value. Valuables depend on value. For a goldsmith, there's no earrings or necklace or bracelet. There's only gold. All that we experience, if you remove God, if you remove Brahman, then there's nothing. It's meaningless, leave alone non-existence, non-existent. This completes another section of Atma Bodha. That was Shloka 6, 7, 8, 9. That is focusing on how our ignorance is being lived. How if we don't bring knowledge into our lives, then the way that we've been living will always be like that. In Shloka 10, Acharya Shankara brings a technicality here. he takes ignorance and puts a magnifying glass there and uses the word upadhi, which can mean conditioning, vehicle. And he says in 10, whatever we associate with conditions us. If you are a resident of Singapore, then when you finish school, you have to join the army. I believe that's still in effect. But if you're a Canadian, when you finish university, you don't have to join the army. When you finish high school, you can do whatever you want. So our associations determine what we're conditioned by. And here, naturally, we're talking about not just the people around us, our body, etc., etc. The reminder in Shloka 10 is space. Many of you have been to this home. This is a satsang space, and that's a kitchen space, and that's vyasa space, and that's stair space. But from the perspective of space, there's just space. The sutra is colors are colorless. From a shallow sense, there's lots of colors. As you go deeper, there's only white. You go deeper than that, colorless. Shloka 11, Acharya Shankara is saying, once these conditionings or these upadhis come onto who we are, unless addressed, they create more conditions and more upadhis. It's like if you're having a nightmare and you don't wake up, you just go deeper and deeper and deeper into that nightmare then. The reminder here is water. Water. Acharya Shankara was sharing that on our spirit we apply gender, we apply age and so on, just like with water. Water has no taste and no color, but we keep saying that water is clean, that water is dirty, that water tastes good. The sutra for 11 is projections cannot harm. Projections cannot harm. If I'm dreaming and I die in my dream, do I die in the waking state? People who are dramatic and like movies say yes, but that's not the case. Projections cannot harm. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names can never hurt me. Those school ground sayings, that also came from Atma, Bodha, and Sanatana Dharma too. If you didn't get it, now I'm telling you. So 10, 11. 12, Acharya Shankara, I said, is taking this ignorance and adding a magnifying glass. Here he says the specific conditioning we have, a primary conditioning we have is this body. The body that you're looking at, that's me, or if you're admiring your own self in your screen right now, that body. And in this Shloka 12, Acharya Shankara explains how this body comes about. The reminder is house. A house. This body is just a house. If there's a house, naturally someone should be living in that house, correct? And the sutra is, watch what you wish for. Watch what you wish for, because the body we have, we've actually chosen this body in metaphysical ways. In 13, Acharya Shankara goes from the body to what drives this body. What is steering this body, which is the antakarana, the software, which is the subtle body. And the reminder here is assembly. This subtle body, this software, is made up of a whole lot of stuff, like the organs of action, like memory, like doership, etc., etc. It's an assembly of stuff that when put together we think is more real than it actually is. Assembly. The sutra is, the subjective is an object. The subjective is an object. I think my thoughts are subjective. They only relate to Vivek, but that's an object too. Just because it's subtler doesn't make it subjective. In 14, we go from the gross body to the subtle body to the causal body. What has caused this software that is driving the hardware? Seeds. Avidya is brought up. Vasanas are brought up. The reminder is seeds. And the sutra is not this, this, and this. So not this causal body, not this subtle body, and not this gross body. Or you can go the other way around. Neti. I have these layers on me, but that doesn't mean that I'm that which is these layers. I am deeper than that, which comes out in the next shloka. This is shloka 15. Shifting from the shariras, the bodies, gross, subtle, and causal, looked at differently is the koshas, the pancha koshas. Body, breath, mind, intellect, ego. Same thought process, but analyzed differently. Acharya Shankara is a teacher. If someone doesn't understand it this way, I'm going to share it this way. If not understand this way, I'm going to understand it this way. So the pancha kosha, and why this is important, because the next section of Atma Bodha teaches us how to analyze these sheets. The reminder in 15 is crystal. And the sutra is association determines limitations. Association determines limitation. So that completes the third part of Atma Bodha. Everyone's with me? We have the focus of knowledge is a remedy to ignorance. Second section is this is what ignorance is looking like in our lives. Third section is ignorance in our lives, more specifically, is looking like body, mind, intellect, breath, ego, etc. Shloka 16, what are we supposed to do about this deep-rooted ignorance? If it was shallow, we don't need so much technique, but it's deep. This viparita bhavana, these wrong notions are intense. In Shloka 16, Acharya Shankara is saying we have to know what we're not. We have to know what we're not, and the way to know this is through reflection, and the best word is brought up, vichara. I really love the word vichara. The reminder in 16 is rice. If you've ever seen a raw rice plant, it's covered with leaves and husk, and you just have to keep pounding that until you finally get that rice. The sutra is unlearning is unbelieving. Unlearning is unbelieving. Unlearning is difficult, and so we're actually having a young adults retreat that's coming up that's going to focus on unlearning. And it's easier for young adults than it is for older adults. It becomes harder and harder and harder to unlearn. In 17, Acharya Shankara brings in the importance of the intellect. The function of the intellect is to determine what I'm not, to determine what I am. It is the intellect that can help us be enlightened, help us be free. So this is brought up in 17. And the sutra here is, the reminder is mirror. If the intellect is dirty, then I will never be able to see who I am. But if the intellect is polished, I can see who I am clearly. The sutra for 17 is, polish the mind mirror. The more polished my mind becomes, the more powerful the voice of my intellect becomes. I listen to my intellect more. In 18, same thought. I'm not the bodies, I'm not the sheaths, but here Acharya Shankara brings in spirit and matter. Purusha, Prakriti. That the spirit is not matter, the spirit is different than matter. And the opposite is true also. Analyze that, reflect on that. The reminder in 18 is a king. A king is present and the work goes on. The king may not roll up his sleeves, may not speak to such and such persons. The king is not limited by what is happening to this conversation or to the sweat of someone who's moving something. The sutra is, I am illumination. I'm not illuminating, because that still means that I have a direct relationship with what I'm illuminating. I am illumination. The sun doesn't care which study groups are in our class today or not. The sun is illumination. It is not illuminating Jacksonville more, even though they think that, but that's not the case. And in Shloka 19, Acharya Shankara says, irrespective of these bodies, these sheets, this matter, these layers, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. That which is beyond all of this, transcends all of this, is higher than all of this, is deeper than all of this, is closer than all of this, is free of all of this. And the reminder is moon. The reminder is moon. When the clouds are moving fast and the moon is above that, it looks like the moon is moving, but is the moon moving? It's just the clouds. And our sutra here is, perception is deception. Perception is deception. Do not rely on perception for your reality. Beautiful. Lots more to study and review. Oh.